Chris Bosley here. Just noticed another thing on another attack. So I was talking to you about I was talking to you earlier about, there it is, an attack on media. I was talking media.com, MediaTek battery warning, right there. It's an attack that they're doing all the time. They're executing it on the phone. Originally, it was really bad. The first time it happened, it just burnt up, blew up, got really, really bad. Numbnuts, Games Fulfully he executed it. Pretty certain it was him or one of his friends did, but I'm pretty certain he was behind it because he's right there in the unit right next to us. And it's easiest for him to monitor, and he can do it right through the wall. It's a really thin wall. And the first time the attack happened, what happened was, well, it was progressive. Like I said in the other videos, all his attacks are progressive. They don't just happen all at once. He probes, he does surveillance, just like any attacker. He's a professional attacker. He probes, and he's getting trained, I think. Someone's training him to be better. And he knows secrets to getting into computers, and they're teaching, like, government of Australia, I think. Premier Mike Baird is an Anglican, and he's a Baptist, and he goes to Moore Theological Bible College. Premier Mike Baird wanted to come here. So it's kind of like a boys club. It's kind of like, oh yeah, high five, high-fiving each other, all celebratory about how they're hacking into people's computers and finding out information and stealing data, and it's really criminal. They should be ashamed of themselves, but instead they celebrate. It's pretty nuts. So as you can see, you might be able to hear, just ignore it. The walls are pretty thin, and so if sound can come through that easily, then radio frequencies can come through just as easy, and he can easily access our computers if that's how he's accessing it, through radio frequencies. So I talked about the MediaTek battery warning. MediaTek is a company that makes CPUs, made the processor for this this Android phone, a ZTE Blade Zip. It's just a cheap phone, but it's supposed to have on-the-go USB on-the-go, and it's broken. It won't work, and I think that's them. And I think it's like a blueprint attack. I think it's like, oh, he's got a phone, can't get rid of on-the-go right away, so he can't use a keyboard. It slows me down, so he can't bounce off his stuff onto a USB quickly, right? Because then they can, if I see anything really incriminating, and I get a screenshot out or something, they can easily just flash the phone and destroy the screenshot. But if I've got on the go, there might be a possibility to get it onto the USB before they destroy the phone, right? So they want to get it on the go right away. That's the first attack. That's one of the first attacks, and among other things. So this phone is supposed to have on the go, but it's stated on their site to support on the go, and it does have on the go, but it doesn't work on this phone. And that was they must have known. I didn't even know this phone had on the go, so they must have known right away, and then immediately disabled it, because I went out and bought a USB. On the go USB, and I'm like, all right, it's got on the go, I can use on the go, and then I went and plugged it in, and it didn't work. So, and I tried putting USB debugger on, and it didn't work. So it's disabled. I tried a on the go tester, and it says, yeah, your phone can use it. And when I plug it in to the micro port, when I plug the on the go USB into the micro port, it said there's no recognition of it. It's not registered, so it's not picking it up. So that's just another example of tampering. But with the attack on MediaTek battery warning, it was progressive. So originally they just did probing, and they just did tests to see what they could do. So for example, my battery would stop charging, and then he'd be in the unit and then running tests, and he'd do something, and he'd test, okay, I can do this, and I can do this, and I can shut his battery down, and this is how you do it, blah blah blah. So then he turned my battery, so the whole day my battery would not charge. I had to restart the phone, but it ran down to 0. And then I started noticing MediaTek battery warning coming on and off periodically, and then it stopped. So then he probes, and then he sees what he can do, and then he takes all that information and he writes an attack. And then he can make the attack scripted and execute anytime he wants, and then he can also trigger it with something else. So for example, if I open up my YouTube page and I'm going to my YouTube account, he can use that as a trigger to trigger the attack. And I'm always saying games, but you got to realize that there's a whole bunch of people involved in this. Like there's Nine Toes, he's in one of the units, and he claims not to be with the Anglicans or with that. I'm not with that mob, he says, but he is. He has a relationship with them, and I'm certain that he does stuff for them. And there's other people too, like a new guy just moved into one of the units, strangely, and he moved into one of the units, and he's up all night. He does the night shift. It's almost like he's doing the night shift, doesn't have a job. He stays up all night. He wakes up at 10 o'clock at night and stays up all night and goes to sleep in the morning, and that's fine. I'm just saying, this is Games Foolflea's last year, and he's got to do his thesis. He might not want to, and when I'm up, he's up, or one of his friends are up. But now, with this new guy in, they're all sleeping all night. Except periodically I'll get up and I'll hear Games up. But now, with this new guy in this unit, they can all sleep. So, I don't know what this new guy does. I tried talking to him, and I tried telling him about the Anglicans. He didn't believe me. Oh, a church shouldn't do that. Asian guy can't do an Asian accent. I can't. But he says to me, oh, a church shouldn't do that. Why would they do that? I tried to explain to him, and he was resistant. So maybe he's Nine Toes' friend. Maybe he's just an innocent guy who just moved in here and stays up all night. I don't know. I'm just saying that since he moved in and since he stays up all night, none of the Anglican students stay up all night. They all sleep restful and peaceful, knowing that someone's on guard, it seems like to me. So, and not to mention, when the owners left, it seemed kind of fishy, like they had kind of a fishy attitude. It seemed like something was up, and I kind of sensed right away and plus, the guy, he was given, there was no, usually in Australia they have showings. When something goes for rent, they have showings. He had no showings, and he's from Canberra. And in Canberra is where the government is, and I've said how many times that the government is involved with the Anglican Church, and the government does this shady hacking and stuff. They claim it's like they claim it's hackers, and they try to blame hackers and try to vilify hackers, but it's really them. It's really them doing it to themselves to justify their position on cyber terrorism and putting $350 million into cyber terrorism. So getting back to the attack, it's very progressive. So he did this, and then he did another step, and then he did another step, and then he takes all the information that he's gathered, puts it together in a script, and then he hits the phone. So when he hits the phone with that MediaTek battery warning, the phone no longer charges. And previously, this is the new step. I said everything, they progress and they make their attacks better and better and more transparent and more transparent. Well, he'll use this attack on other people. And previously, when he did the attack, my battery would not charge for the rest of the day. I had to either run my battery right down until the phone shut off, or I had to shut the phone off. So that's a real easy way if you implement a payload. If he implements a payload attack and he needs a phone restart, that's a really good way to restart the phone, isn't it? get the user to start their phone because their battery is dying. So, and plus you interfere with whatever activity they're doing because the media battery warning steals the screenshot. And then I make a screenshot like this and I talk about what happens, and he overlooks it, overhears it, and then he uses me as an asset and manipulates me by watching my response to his attack, and then he fixes it even further. So the latest thing that he's done is, I just noticed today, after a few minutes, after a while, the battery starts charging again. At first, I showed it in the previous video. You put the charger in, and the battery doesn't charge. But now it's charging, and that's a fix. So he can make it so that one, he can commit the attack so that the battery stays off, forcing a restart, or he can, if he chooses, if he so desires, he can make it so the battery, after a few minutes or whatever, the battery starts charging up again. So this is like absolute good control of the phone, and I really hope that you realize this is not a hacker. This is like a full-time occupation for these people. And as I said, I say games all the time, and whenever I say he attacked, I say games, or they attack, meaning the church, Anglicans, Presbyterians, and Baptists that are involved in the computer crimes here at Moore Theological Bible College in this building. And I'm sure that they're running around in the universities doing this to other people too, monitoring other people's behavior, monitoring other people's computers, stealing ideas, and stealing data that doesn't belong to them, and then getting their framework of lawyers and rich people to set up a framework so that they can get a leg up by stealing all these ideas from other people, by hacking into their computers unknown, because the intrusion detection systems don't catch it and the firewalls don't catch it, and then they can steal whatever they want, plant whatever they want, do whatever they want. And this is the Anglican Presbyterian Baptist churches, students attending Moore Theological Bible College here in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. And this is, I think this is supported by, Premier Mike Baird. I think Premier Mike Baird has a knowledge of this. He'll claim deniability, but I think he knows about this. I think the Prime Minister knows about this. I think all of them bastards know about this. Well, lots of them. I've gone to politicians and I've talked to them about this, and the two people that I talked to said, "Oh, well, that sounds like it's a lot of trouble. Maybe you just want to let it go." So it's very clear to me that this is been happening for a long time, and I have no doubt that they're doing this in other countries, and in Europe, England, Church of England, that's Anglican, same thing, same church, Episcopalian in the United States, same thing. So they progress. They test things out, and then they up the bar, and then they test it out, and then they up the bar and test it out, and then up the bar and test it out, and then they've got their program. Like, for example, the metadata retention laws, they test it out, and then they check it, test it out. How far can we go? How far can we go? How far can we push it? How much privacy can we take away from people before they revolt? And then even if they do revolt, big deal, who cares? We'll just step back and we'll keep going. So that's an example of progressive computer attack. Now he can run the battery completely down to 0, or if he wants, he can turn the battery back on so it recharges again. So another example of a continual progression, evolution of attacks by the Moore Theological Bible College students and their friends. Like I said, Nine Toads and maybe the Asian guy that just moved in 6 or 7 months ago. Maybe they do the night shift so that the precious little Moore Theological Bible College students can do whatever they gotta do. Sleep. So, progressive attack and government supported criminal activity.